As CEO of Transdev Canada, Artur Nicolet has led the company's team to innovate, to challenge the status quo, and offer the best solutions and services. Now, with the commitment of more personalized, more autonomous, more connected, and more sustainable, Transdev has become engaged in the energy and ecological transition. To date, they're the largest private operator of electric school buses in North America. And as an organization, they're committed to continuing to offer solutions to combat climate change. Artur, welcome. Delighted to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here with you.
Now, Artur, when people think about businesses, they tend to assume that all that really matters is generating a positive bottom line. Yet the most successful businesses today seem to have a very much broader focus on the impact that they have on the well-being of the broader society. Transdev is a good example of that. The products you produce are aimed at improving the quality of life in a sustainable fashion. And additionally, I was struck in looking at your website to see the emphasis that Transdev places on business ethics and avoiding even the hint of corruption in any of your activities. In your opinion, why are we talking about ESG criteria today, and why has the subject become apparently unavoidable?
Yeah, I believe, there is, basic trend on ESG because companies are bigger and bigger, sometimes bigger than states. So they bear a larger responsibility now. We are in a global economy, so we are facing in different countries with different, sometimes, values. So we are not all in the same page. And I say that, public accounting is really different than private accounting. So, and I will would like, to highlight, of course, because I'm working in public transportation. And so how you measure, the social impact, the cars versus the buses. We know that, public transport requires subsidies. And we can, if it's just on a financial standpoint, so we can have some arbitration on it. But we know in the same times that the buses require 20 times less space on the road, require 60 times less than CO2 than a car, that reduce the congestion, that creates, and we know that congestion creates lost time. So that's a major impact on our society. So we know that's a lot. And I will give you also another example, far from us in Australia. I had, the pleasure to understand this project. It was a PPP to build, prison, jails. And the first KPI, it wasn't, to secure, the prisoner inside the prison, but, how that they are not again in the prison, how we can rehabilitate those persons in order to become, a good citizen in their country. And that's valuable. That's a great, interesting KPI.
For you, when you look at Transdev's role, is Transdev a business or is it a mission? What does taking ESG criteria into account mean in concrete terms for Transdev?
For sure, for Transdev, our mission is a mobility. We are the company of the mobility. So we push and we are on the side of municipalities, governments, all the stakeholders, just to find a mobility solution to reduce the CO2, to transport people, passengers, with all modes of transport and be the most efficient way. And basically, we can talk about, electrification of the fleet. What we are doing, you talk at the introduction. So we are part of, this great move to reduce the CO2 by the electrification of fleets, find local solution. But we can, go much further if we would like.
How would you go further?
Again, it's the question of maybe the evolution of public, financial system, the way that we are doing, the accountability. So far, we are facing sometimes silos inside our economy, in our approach. It's not the same budget, for health than transportation, even if in the health budget you have part of transportation. And I can give you a lot of example of that everywhere. We know that, the mobility will be multimodal. So I mean that will merge all modes of transport, and that will provide savings for municipalities, of course, but also for the passenger. That will be way more efficient in the futures. So we believe that we should, improve the call for tender to be more creative. So far, again, a really concrete example. It's a low bidder approach. So I mean, we request, the operators to be, the lowest price, in terms of kilometers, by kilometers. But the question is more to be the cheaper in terms of ridership. The thing is, not just run, empty bus. The question is, how we can, with all the means, all the financement, transport more people for a certain amount. And that will change, also the approach, I believe, for the whole society and also for the operators. And I believe that could be, it's an approach that we can have, in several fields and business industry areas, and that will benefit the whole society.
It's very clear that taking ESG criteria into account is something that is good, is the right thing to do. What is it good for business?
What is good for business? I believe, for the business is better, to be creative, to bring new solution to municipalities. I will say, transport and demand. We know that, for the past 2 years, we all face, COVID-19 situation that hurt, transportation services, but there are still solutions, and we can bring those kind of solutions, transport and demand, but also that could be, how we design a network, a urban transit network, how we can bring, new solutions for the society, and we believe that we have a lot of things to put on the table. If the frame will change in the future, the frame that we are designing, the tenders will change in the future.
Today, you're speaking to a broad range of business people from all different sectors. Are there lessons that Transdev has learned as a result of its focus on ESG goals that would be helpful for other businesses to look at as well? What are the lessons learned?
I believe, as a local, operator, even if you are, we are a large company, of course, but we are a local operator. We work with local communities, we can't outsource our operation, of course, and that's positive, really positive. So it's why we know we have, strong relationship with, of course, again, local authorities, but also, the population. It's key, the communities, and how we can design for each communities, each local, cities solution. So we believe that, other businesses can have, a similar approach. We know that in Quebec, that makes a lot of sense to move towards electrification. It's not always the case. That's required, to look and discuss with communities. We know that we can bring added values, especially, in the rail industry, and we are doing that in Ontario. But there's still space, of course, as I said, for the example in Australia, GL, find new KPIs in order to, new KPIs for, especially for tenders, but also, in the economic rules.
Final question, can we talk about the G part of ESG? So I mentioned in the introduction a little bit earlier, I was struck by the fact that you put front and center on your website the policies that Transdev has in place in terms of ensuring business integrity. Anti-corruption measures that apply to all of your employees. You have a whistleblowing program internally. You publish your policies both internally and externally so people know what they are. Is this the wave of the future? Do you see companies increasingly doing this? Because today, when you look at corporate websites, it's usually not so evident as it is in the case of Transdev that this is made a first priority in doing business.
Of course, we believe that's the top priority. It's part of our credibility. I believe it's key nowadays, if you want to recruit people, and, that matters for them. That matters also for all our clients, I will say, nearly all our clients. That's a key element, and we need to take care of it, and we believe that because we are a company that we want, clear rules, we want, better understanding how we are doing so far. We have done, also a large commitment even during the COVID, and we had, the opportunity to talk together, how we manage our people during the crisis. It's not always when everything is fine. Of course, it's also when we struggle, and it's a priority, it's a necessity for a company. It's a must to do it, to be, responsible and have, a high level of integrity. We really believe on it for doing the business, especially in the future.
Arthur, it's very clear that under your leadership, Transdev Canada really is in the forefront in terms of ESG. We thank you very much for that leadership, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Brian.